scare the living shit out of the Indiana Fever. So Indiana Fever, and it's been my belief that they will freaking fire everyone. And I do believe this. So if you're a Fever fan and you're hoping they'll keep Caitlin Clark, it's my belief that when push comes to shove, there's no way they can let her get away. They will fire everybody and start over. That's my belief. I cannot imagine the level of fumbling the bag that would have to be done.
Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA with sky-high expectations. For many, she wasn't just a new player, she was seen as the future of the league. But what's unfolding around her doesn't look like support. It looks like resistance. From puzzling decisions by her coach, to the cold shoulder from teammates, and the league's silence in the face of it all, it's raising serious questions. This isn't typical rookie treatment. It's far more calculated, and it's happening right out in the open. What's developing here isn't just troubling, it suggests something deeper. A coordinated effort to undermine one of the WNBA's biggest opportunities in decades. And behind it all may lie a harsh truth the league would rather keep buried.
Clark meant to the WNBA.
Everything. She's changed the dynamic and history forever for women.
I see a lot of young girls here today, and I see how inspired they are, and she's even gotten me back into basketball.
I think she has brought attention. She did it for us. We had never watched, and we have become big fans.
I don't think her contributions have been extreme as what people think they are. I think the league in itself has been getting better, and that's really what we should be focusing on.
I think she's brought a lot of attention to the WNBA, and it's needed.
I think it's great. I actually grew up watching the WNBA, so it's really exciting to see a resurgence.
She meant everything. I never watched it before.
Let's face the facts. Before this season, the Indiana Fever were barely hanging on. Year after year, they sat near the bottom of the standings, trapped in a cycle of irrelevance. Attendance was low, fan engagement was fading, and national coverage? Practically non-existent. In the eyes of many, the Fever weren't a contender, they were a forgotten franchise. But then came Caitlin Clark, and everything changed overnight. She wasn't just the top pick in the draft. She was a seismic force that shook the foundations of women's basketball. With her arrival, the spotlight snapped back to Indiana. Ticket sales surged, media outlets took notice, and a team once overlooked suddenly found itself at the center of a sports revolution.
And there's enough votes here. This is a good test to see how bad this would be. Swag put this out, and it's starting to make the rounds. I voted. Okay, Fever fans, answer this. If Caitlin leaves Fever, would you still support the Fever? We got 1,145 votes here. Nope, my bags are packed is far and away leading.
Even before she stepped onto a WNBA court, Caitlin Clark had already made history. Her college games at Iowa didn't just break records, they demolished them, drawing in more viewers than some men's championship matchups. The moment she declared for the draft, the frenzy began. Her Indiana Fever jersey sold out online before she even had one in hand. Across the country, arenas weren't filling up for the home team, they were selling out weeks, even months in advance, just for a shot to see her play live. Clark wasn't just a star. She was an economic engine wrapped in sneakers and shooting range. For the Fever, drafting her meant more than adding talent, it meant rewriting their entire future. The strategy felt obvious: hand her the ball, unleash her skill set, and ride the wave of momentum. But reality hit fast, and hard. Instead of being welcomed into the league with open arms, her debut was met with resistance. Her introduction wasn't a celebration. It was a hard foul, literally, that sent a message heard across the entire sports world.
We're letting her cook. Me dinner.
I'm buying Powerade stock.
Is it a play on like women shouldn't? No, they didn't do it on purpose. There's no way. How you came up with this and not in the back of your minds like, oh, they're just gonna be like, oh, it's women. She just needs to cook. Didn't think about that in the PR room. I'm a big advocate of.
When Kennedy Carter of the Chicago Sky delivered a blindside hip check to Caitlin Clark, nowhere near the ball, the game shifted. This wasn't just a tough defensive play. It crossed a line, and for millions watching, many for the first time, it marked a turning point. To the casual fan, it might have looked like a standard hard foul. But to those paying attention, it was something else entirely. It felt intentional. Personal. A physical expression of resentment that had been quietly building since the moment Clark's name topped the draft board. The backlash she brought with her, the fame, the endorsements, the attention, had finally boiled over. The foul itself was blatant and unsportsmanlike. But perhaps more unsettling was the response, or lack of one, from her own teammates. There was no outcry, no confrontation, no show of solidarity. Just silence. And in that silence, the message became louder than the foul itself.
Listen, NBA players make 50% of revenues. WNBA players make 9%. And now the merch sales are up 500% and attendance is up, 40%. So they're going to get a raise. There's no question. And I don't really care that the previous 25 years, they didn't make a lot of money or lost money. I don't care. They're in the middle of a negotiation and they're on a heater. So it doesn't really matter. I've said this before. I made an investment for 5 years and it lost money. And I got about 6 months left in the investment. And in the last 6 months, they started making cash. I'm not bailing on the investment. I want to finally get my money back. So they're going to get a raise. They're finally turning a corner. But and negotiating in any business is all about current momentum. It's not about 12 years ago. It's about current momentum.
Silence from Caitlin Clark's bench spoke volumes, and what it revealed was troubling. For many fans, that moment shattered the illusion that she was being protected. She wasn't just battling opposing defenders. She was enduring a level of isolation that went far beyond standard rookie treatment. And as the season unfolded, it became painfully obvious, the most confusing, and at times damaging, decisions weren't just coming from rival teams. They were coming from her own bench. At the center of the controversy is Fever head coach Christy Sides, whose handling of Clark has sparked widespread backlash. With games on the line, momentum building, and the crowd leaning in, Clark, the team's biggest weapon, is too often watching from the sidelines. No injury. No foul trouble. Just benched. Over and over again, in critical moments, her absence on the floor has left fans and analysts alike stunned and searching for answers.
Caitlin Clark is a media driver. She is a ratings driver. I think about the NBA post Magic and Larry, the NBA post Michael Jordan, tennis post Serena Williams, golf post Tiger Woods, right? There are certain athletes that drive the sport more than others. And that's not to take away from anyone else drafted tonight. That's not to take away from the other incredible superstars in the WNBA right now.
Time and again, Caitlin Clark will light up the stat sheet through 3 quarters, dropping 20 points, dishing out precision assists, and keeping her team in the fight. Then, as the game tightens and the fourth quarter begins, everything changes. Suddenly, she's not the focal point. She's an afterthought. Rather than having the ball in her hands when it matters most, she's often stationed in the corner, reduced to a passive role while teammates take questionable shots and squander key possessions. It's not just frustrating. It's baffling. Fans tuning in, whether longtime supporters or those drawn in by the hype, are left stunned. Why neutralize your most dangerous player when the game is on the line? It's like owning a Ferrari and choosing to coast to the finish line with the engine off. The talent is there, ready to take over. But someone keeps slamming the brakes.
T-shirts don't bother me. But why do you take a shot at the Golden Goose, Caitlin Clark? You guys were flying before she arrived on one of those airlines that made you pay for a cup of water. One of those airlines that is the planes are the color of a highlighter. Now you're flying private. Okay, if you're in a band and you're staying at the Motel 6 and you add a band member and now you're at the Ritz-Carlton, keep your issues to yourself.
Post-game press conferences have only intensified the controversy. Coach Christy Sides often offers lukewarm, almost dismissive praise for Clark's efforts, while ardently defending veteran players who are clearly struggling to perform. The pattern is hard to ignore. What once might have been chalked up to rookie growing pains now feels calculated, like a deliberate message. The debate has shifted from questioning the coach's competence to wondering about her true intentions. What's driving these decisions? And if you believe the tension stops at the sidelines, think again. The undercurrents extend to the court itself. The interactions, the spacing, the subtle shifts in play style all hint at a deeper struggle. Clark isn't just facing opponents, she's navigating a complex, and often hostile, team dynamic that's as much psychological as it is physical.
3. I'm going to pass on that question, actually. WNBA star Caitlin Clark is transforming women's sports. She fills arenas night after night, and her games have smashed TV viewership records. And if you watch Clark play, well, it's not hard to figure out why. She makes deep three-pointers look easy. And like all stars, wants the ball when the game is on the line.
Caitlin Clark joined a franchise that had been stuck in a losing spiral for years. They weren't contenders, they were largely overlooked, both by fans and by the league itself. But with her arrival, everything changed. Suddenly, the Indiana Fever are flying on private jets, playing in packed arenas, and appearing on national broadcasts in prime time. And make no mistake, this transformation isn't the result of a team overhaul. It's the Caitlin Clark effect, plain and simple. One player shifted the entire spotlight. You'd think that kind of impact would inspire celebration, loyalty, even. But on the court, the energy tells a different story. Body language is cold. Passes that should be instinctive come off awkward, delayed. And when big plays happen, the reactions from teammates are subdued, almost strained. The enthusiasm feels dialed down, like success is happening in spite of her, not because of her. And that disconnect is becoming harder and harder to ignore.
It's like something where if you are a star in the WNBA, like Caitlin Clark, she's probably one of the few people that anybody you can mention to somebody that knows sports will know Caitlin Clark. Yeah. She's getting a ton of deals. Coke, Gatorade, you name Nike deals. Now, I know a lot of the other players, like if you're the 12th person on the team, you're probably not making that much money, but I just feel like coming out like this, what are they going to bargain with? What is their like thing they're coming with that's going to change their salary? And that's what I was trying to figure out. I couldn't understand because they're already rev sharing. The NBA already gives them money, compensates for the loss they make every year because they lose 50.
Behind the scenes, there's been a steady hum of tension, a rumor mill fueled by whispers of veteran resentment. The idea that no matter how electrifying Caitlin Clark's performances may be, some within the league simply aren't ready to hand her the keys. It's the familiar story. A struggling band finally finds mainstream success, but it's the new lead singer, young, bold, and wildly popular, who's drawing all the cheers. And while the spotlight grows brighter, the original members quietly seethe, unwilling to share center stage. But just as that internal drama reached a simmer, something far bigger, and far more public, threatened to blow it all wide open. A decision at the highest level of the sport left fans stunned. The 2024 Paris Olympics, once seen as Caitlin Clark's global coming-out party, her coronation on the world stage, would go on without her.
Female bird. She had Van Slugenhagen on her. She was like, I'm offended that y'all have white defensive players guarding me, and she put her in the torture chamber. You should have known from her little face that she didn't want this matchup from the beginning. Caitlin reminds me of what Dame does. If anybody ever noticed, her first shot, always a three. First quarter, second quarter, third. She sets the distance on her first shot, so you have to guard her there. Now she can do whatever she wants to do. She's playing a chess game. That's what Dame does. He starts his game off, he's gonna shoot a deep-ass three to...
The WNBA had a golden opportunity. Its most recognizable, marketable, and talked about player in history was rising fast, and the global spotlight of the 2024 Paris Olympics was the perfect stage. It wasn't just a branding opportunity, it was a once-in-a-generation marketing gift, served up with a bow. But then, shockingly, Caitlin Clark's name was left off the Olympic roster. The league's brightest star was benched while the world watched. The reasoning from officials? Thin at best. They cited a need for more experience, emphasized team chemistry, and claimed she needed to pay her dues. But to the public, it sounded like a smokescreen, an excuse wrapped in outdated thinking. Fans weren't buying it. They saw it for what it was, a power play. A clear case of the establishment circling the wagons to protect its hierarchy. Rather than usher in the next era of women's basketball, decision-makers chose to preserve the status quo. A veteran's farewell tour took priority over a breakout moment for the league's future. It wasn't just disappointing, it was self-sabotage. And it sent a deafening message to Clark and her millions of fans: you're not part of the club. Not yet. But that decision would spark something much bigger, one that would ripple through every front office in the WNBA and force a reckoning no one saw coming.
NBA before Caitlin Clark and the WNBA after Caitlin Clark. Describe these two worlds.
Oh, entirely different. 180, you know. The WNBA before started in 1997, the year after the Atlanta Olympics, and was launched into a time when women's sports was still not taken seriously by a lot of, people. And some of those same guys now, if we want to talk about before and after, some of those same guys, or guys like them, are the ones buying the 22 jerseys, wearing them to games, Major, but also to the grocery store and to the gas station. It is now cool to be a WNBA fan, and it is cool to love Caitlin Clark and the spotlight that is finally shining on these players.
The backlash didn't come with protests in the streets or fiery speeches. It came with something far more impactful: silence at the box office and decisive action at the register. Fans didn't riot. They recalibrated. And they made their stance known where it mattered most, in their spending and their loyalty. One viral social media poll posed a simple question to Indiana Fever fans: if Caitlin Clark leaves, will you still support the team? The response was overwhelming. Thousands of replies poured in, and over 80% said exactly what the franchise never wanted to hear: absolutely not. These aren't just casual viewers, they're a movement. A mobile fanbase that travels, tunes in, and spends with purpose. They didn't pledge allegiance to a franchise or a logo. They committed to Caitlin Clark. They're the reason arenas across the league are sold out when the Fever come to town. They're driving merchandise sales to record highs. They're the engine behind the WNBA's sudden surge in cultural relevance. And now, they're watching this slow-moving takedown of their star with rising outrage. Their message is crystal clear: if you alienate Clark, you lose us too. And that's not a threat, it's a warning shot. Because for any franchise that pushes her out, the aftermath won't just be public backlash. It could be a financial freefall.
The Olympic stuff.
On the night that I broke the news, someone read me the list that Caitlin Clark was not on the Olympic team, which was June 7th. She had just had 30 points and 7 threes against Washington in an amazing game. And bottom line on this is they did not want her on the team. There was either a sense that she needs to wait her turn. They wanted to give Diana Taurasi the going away present. Name another time when you would ever give an athlete a going away present with an Olympic berth. Outrageous. So Caitlin said, hey, it's okay. And in interviews, she said, it's all right, I'll make it the next time. Well, in the book, I have a wonderful anecdote from...
This entire saga is a ticking time bomb, and the clock is moving fast. Caitlin Clark may be locked into a 4-year rookie contract, but in professional sports, that's a flash. A moment. And the Indiana Fever are burning through that time at an alarming rate. They've been handed a generational talent and, along with her, a rare opportunity to rewrite the franchise's legacy. But opportunity doesn't guarantee loyalty. To keep her, the Fever need to build more than a team, they need to build trust. That means appointing a coach who elevates her game, teammates who stand with her, and a front office that treats her not just as a player, but as the most valuable asset the organization has ever seen. Because if they don't, there are 11 other teams who would clear the board in an instant to build around her. She wouldn't stay unsigned for a single day. And Indiana? They'd snap right back to what they were before Clark ever put on that jersey, buried at the bottom of the standings and forgotten by the media. The fans she brought, millions of them, aren't tied to a team. They're tied to her. And if she walks, they walk. What's left behind is more than just an empty arena. It's a cautionary tale of mismanagement, ego, and a lost future. And here's where things really stop making sense, because when you look at the money involved, this level of sabotage becomes almost unthinkable.
I was mesmerized by her. And I will tell you this. This was the greatest performance I've ever seen in the NCAA tournament, girl or boy. Greatest performance.
On this biggest stage.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because rarely does a game like this live up to its hype.
Yeah.
Rarely do you have the two superstars play like superstars, because you got to understand the scout report is geared to stop you. All the hype coming into this is going to be people who've never watched a girls' basketball game watched. A lot of people watched for the first.
That'd be fine if her way was producing championships. Instead, it's producing late.
Right now, the WNBA is on the verge of a massive financial transformation. A new media rights deal is being negotiated, one that, just a year ago, the league hoped would bring modest gains. But that was before Caitlin Clark. Her record-breaking viewership numbers have changed the game entirely. What was once a hopeful contract could now be worth billions. And here's the kicker, every single player in the league stands to benefit from this. Even the ones delivering cheap shots. Even the veterans giving her the cold shoulder. Their salaries, endorsement deals, travel accommodations, even the charter flights they're now enjoying, are funded by the surge of interest she's generated. To undermine the very player who is inflating your paycheck isn't just poor sportsmanship, it's economic sabotage. It's cutting off the lifeline that's lifting everyone's future. It speaks to a level of bitterness and resistance that goes beyond logic and right into self-destruction. But perhaps the most insulting element in all of this is the gaslighting. While millions of new fans tune in and clearly see the tension, the hard fouls, the benchings, the body language, a segment of the old guard media and veteran voices insists there's nothing to see. This is just how the league works, they say. You're being too sensitive. They call it rookie hazing. They frame it as tradition. But what they're really doing is asking an entire generation of fans to ignore what's playing out in front of them. To pretend that isolating your most impactful player and targeting her on the court is just business as usual. But these fans aren't naive. They know what a generational talent looks like. And they know what it looks like when that talent is being systematically iced out. This isn't just a disagreement about play calling. It's a power struggle, a battle to preserve a narrative that's slipping out of their control. Which brings us to the conversation so many are having, but few in the mainstream are willing to touch. Is this hostility really just about basketball? Or is it also about who Caitlin Clark is, and how her image fits, or doesn't, within a league that has long been defined by black excellence? When the new face of the league is a young white woman, drawing unprecedented brand deals, media attention, and cultural power in a predominantly black league, tensions were bound to surface. This isn't just a rookie year. It's a flashpoint. A collision of culture, race, generational change, and institutional control. The WNBA asked for a star. What they got was a mirror. And for some, that reflection is uncomfortable. Now, Caitlin Clark finds herself fighting on all fronts. Against defenders who treat every possession like a statement. Against a coach whose strategy remains confusing and inconsistent. Against a league infrastructure that seems more threatened than thrilled by her rise. And against a media machine trying to downplay what millions can see for themselves. The WNBA wanted a savior. They got one. But they weren't ready for the revolution she brought with her. The question now isn't whether Caitlin Clark can carry a franchise to greatness. She's already shown she can. The question is whether the franchise, and the league, will stop trying to hold her back long enough to let her. Because if they don't, they won't just be mishandling a player. They'll be killing the golden goose before it even has a chance to build them a golden empire.